All right. Well, hello again.
All right, so for the list, this I was telling her when this time when I tapped in to try to figure out what the list was going to be for us to talk about, and I'm in my room, like it's quiet. And, it was different this time. There was circle, a circle of like a circle round table, big round table with a bunch of beings around it. And they were tapped into us, the three of us, and our pictures were each one of our pictures separately. So there were three pictures above them, and they were rotating in a circle, and they were tapped into it, and they were serving me up topics.
Hmm.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
I was getting much more than I can handle, but they told me, "Don't worry about it. That's going to the way it's going to be from now on. You're going to get much more than what you can handle, but you let whatever resonates come into your field, and then just deal with that."
Mm-hmm.
So I could see much more coming,
Mm-hmm.
but not all of it was sticking. A lot of it was just kind of flying by, or I couldn't really make it out, or I could just make out a word or two or an impression or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
but not enough to do anything with. But the ones I did, they were very strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I got many more than this, but these are the ones that were the strongest. I try to keep it at a small enough number that we have time to discuss them. So the first one I got was Timeline Spaghetti. Starseeds are the fork. So basically, there's lots of timelines out there. Not all of them are pertinent for everyone else, but there are lots and lots and lots of timelines. Many people bring their own timelines, and then groups of people bring timelines. So there's a lot of timelines. It's up to the feeling I got is it's chaotic out there with the timelines, but the starseeds are the ones corralling them and pulling them together to figure out which ones have merit. And it's an impression that they get. We all feel it.
Mm-hmm.
You get an impression about a blissful feeling, or that's stuff coming in from the rest of the starseeds that you're tapped into, and they check with you. They're checking to see, does this resonate with you? And that's how they get the consensus of the starseeds, is by sending you a blip of something. It may be a completely redone, revamped education system that's run by participation of the parents. You no more just sending your kids off to school and your hands off. No more of that. So this would be floated out just to get your impact, to get Gina's impact, to get how it resonates and whatnot. And then that consensus rolls up to the starseeds, and then it either finds a place in the timeline or it doesn't. So, and I saw many more topics. I mean, pretty anything you can think of, from government, and that includes all levels of government, to education system, to economy, to communities and how they're run and how they interact with each other. But it's not to give, push specifics on people. It's to find out what resonates with people. Like, what do you like about communities? What do you don't like about communities? It's getting that consensus and using that stuff to find the timelines that are commensurate with it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think like a test run, and then we go through it, and then it sticks with us if it works, and it goes away if it doesn't, that kind of thing? Like we're doing a test run of those types of things, and then if it's like something that seems to fit, it stays, and then if it doesn't fit, then it just completely leaves our mind, or leaves, just goes away.
Yeah, I guess you could call it a test run, but if you call it a test run, meaning it runs and then you have to do it over again, or no, it's more like a run in parallel. It's a
Sandbox.
It's where your prescience comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it's like, oh wow, I was just having a dream about that, and now it happens. Well, where do you think that came from? That came from the collective consciousness tapping into you. Does that resonate? Well, if you got prescient about it, it resonated with you, because then it came back. You've already seen it. You've already felt it. And now you're getting it again. So it's not running twice, because the first time was it's tapping into you to see, does this resonate with you? And if it doesn't, then it just kind of rolls off you. You don't even really. But if it catches, something about it resonate with you, and then the collective consciousness of the starseeds figure out how strongly it resonated with you, and they do it with all the other starseeds to start pulling in a kind of like a chart of all the things that resonate and how strongly they resonated, to see what the consensus is. How else will we get a consensus of what the new economy is going to look like, what the new government is like? This is how it's being done. You're being tapped into it. This life we're living right now is not the real life.
Right.
This is all just a playground. This is all just a battleground, playground, matrix to so that we have something to push off of. So we have ways of sending ourselves messages, and ways of learning, ways of figuring out who we are. Like one of my things is, who are you really? Because you're not this being. This is just a shard of you here.
Right.
The real you is your higher self. But there are remnants of you to give you a sense of who your higher self is, how you like to operate, the kind of things you like and enjoy, things you don't like, things that resonate with you, kind of how you operate. All that in this world is a reflection of your higher self. So that all of that is going on, and it has been going on for quite a while, but it's at a fever pitch now, because the starseeds have taken over the timelines.
I keep getting we're in charge. We're in charge. We're in charge.
So
that's what it keeps coming as you're talking.
You may not know what you're doing when you daydream or when you dream at night or whatnot, but that's what you're working on.
Well, I've noticed I've been kind of living a couple different timelines at once now. Like this one I'm currently in, but then like a couple from my childhood. It's like I'm reliving them, but with my mind now, and I'm there. And it's like I'm seeing it though with my eyes, my adult eyes, into my childhood. So it's like I can hop back into any spot in my life, and it's like certain people have been coming back into my life from my childhood, like my best friend from when I was 13. So a lot of those things that resonated with me back then that I haven't thought about or haven't even been occurred to me in years, it's like boom, like something was activated with that, and then I can almost go and relive that with my mind now. And it's crazy, but with an completely unemotional, non-judgmental view of it, which is kind of cool. So but yeah, I've been playing a lot with my timelines and messing with my dream, all that kind of stuff, like trying to step in. And this other group I was in, they were talking about how their adult self would go back to their child self, and remember being scared as a child of something that was actually me as an adult looking at myself as a child. It was me that I was scared of, it's that kind of thing. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, we're all doing this to some extent. What we're doing is we're clearing our traumas and clearing our timelines. our
Mhm.
timelines, our past, what we perceive as past, have been used to control us through um, our brainwashing and our traumas, and pulling on their traumas through media and movies and TVs, pulling on those traumas. So what you're doing is you're going back and you're clearing those. You couldn't do it as a child, but as an adult, those same things don't scare you the same way. Plus, you can see them now that you're woke. You can see them with clearer eyes. We're
Right.
all brainwashed.
Yeah.
Don't
Well,
think-
I see it as I wanted it all to happen anyway. Like now the way that I see it is my magical life is always there, you know, not in this life. I mean, I can bring magic into this life now too, but everything I have been through in this life is something that my soul starseed self wanted to go through, because as a soul, I feel it's kind of only a love and light or a void kind of thing with feelings, with the duality and the emotion. So now I see like everything that I've been through and I go through now in this life, it's all play for me, all of it. And I'm just, and I don't feel, I mean, the trauma's already cleared about like any of the pain that I used to feel, so, which I don't even resonate with that person who would just be so emotionally upset about things that have happened to me throughout my life. I don't even have a feeling. Like sometimes I'm like, no, you know, there's nothing there. So I don't know. I'm just like, what's next? What's going to happen? Because it's all, to me, it's just play. It all feels like play to me. Nothing feels serious or like upsetting or heavy, you know, nothing. So it's kind of crazy.
And that's from going and clearing your timelines and clearing out those traumas and whatnot. And that will come in waves.
Yeah.
Because
it's definitely coming way.
most of us can't handle doing it constantly. So a lot of it will be based on what's going on in your dream world, because that is what's determining how depleted you are, not this world. This
Right.
world is just play, and it doesn't really matter. It's all matrix and whatever. It's what you do at night and how good you think you slept. Well, it's not how good you slept. It's really about what it took out of you while you were on those missions and handling those timelines and clearing out those traumas, and possibly helping others. Other people who invite you to come, hey, will you come help me with this trauma because you were involved, or for some reason I've kind of I've stamped this trauma with your energy for some reason. It may not make any sense to you, but it makes sense to them.
Yeah.
And they were like saying, I need your help because it has your stamp on it to help me through this trauma. So we're all helping each other through this by involving ourselves when people ask us to, if we agree to it. Now, you may wake up and say, man, I had a dream about dinosaurs, and that's all symbolic.
Right.
What you were really doing is you were handling things that were as big as dinosaurs to you and as scary as dinosaurs and whatever. It's all symbolic, but that's where the work is really being done, is during dream time. You may not remember it, but you can tell. Doesn't matter how long you slept, because when you go to sleep, time stops. It doesn't.
Right.
When you wake up, you can tell. Do you feel refreshed? If you did, then what you accomplished during that time did not deplete you. It actually kind of strengthened you, and you feel the effects while you're woke in this world. And then at the same time, if you feel depleted, the best thing you can do is don't further deplete you in this world. Go do something fun, or do something that takes your mind off of it or whatnot. So the next night you won't be so depleted.
And what I'm also feeling into is the dream world, because we've talked about, are you in the now moment? And anytime we're not in the now moment, we're in the dream world. So even when you're waking state, you can deplete yourself by what's going on in your mind and what's going on in the future and the past, and that's somewhat of a dream world as well.
Well, there are the traps, the brainwash
Mhm.
traps. A lot of times, if you fall out of the now while you're woke,
Mhm.
it's because you've fallen into your rituals, you're falling into patterns, you're falling into brainwashing. That it's the stuff. It's kind of like watching a TV show for 30 minutes, and then when it's done, you're like,
Yeah.
what did I just watch? Or well, you can't remember it. Well, you were not in the now.
Mhm.
You were in something that provoked you
Mhm.
and pulled you into some other, and someone was stealing your energy.
Right, in some other timeline, some other place. Yeah.
Because you weren't in control of it.
Yeah, and it depletes.
When you're in your now and you're seeing the synchronicities on the clocks and patterns and things reappearing, and you're paying attention to it, you're building your now, you're controlling your energy.
Mhm.
When you're not in the now, someone else is pulling on your energy.
Mhm.
So, and that's one of my items. We'll get to that. The next one is weird science. We've all learned science, and whether it's basic or science or physics or whatever, and that's relevant for 3D only. But what is now peeking through is what I'm calling weird science. It's science that goes beyond 3D. Now, what does that look like? Weird. It's not going to fit the 3D mold. So we're going to start. We've already started seeing them.
Yeah.
We've been seeing them for a while. Stories about things that are coming through, even in mainstream media, where they're reporting something. You're going, what? What in the world? What? That's completely contrary to what we learned in school science. That's going to be happening more and more, and creeping into the things that we've always accepted as true, and these things are going to be countermanding them because our 3D matrix is starting to break down.
Right.
Because the 5D is starting to break through.
Yeah.
So we're going to start seeing more and more of that. I'm lumping it into weird science, but it's anything where you go, that's weird.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
It's like that.
Something's trying to get you're trying to get your attention to pay attention to that. And usually I would say usually clues come in groups, not just one. So one is used to catch your attention. Pay attention even further. Now you'll find some 2, 3, 4, 5 more things that are coming through on that data stream, that communication stream. Because it's you contacting you. That's what's going on. And now, since the veil is really breaking down, the communication from your higher self is starting to get much clearer, and from the collective consciousness, it's starting to get through more often, stronger, broader, deeper.
Yeah, because I get that those weird things come through so that we will stop and pay attention.
Yes.
So it's like whenever you see somebody and you say, well, how was your day? You expect them to say, oh, it was fine. But if they say, well, my day was terrible, or my day was, you know what I mean? It's like, then you stop and go, oh, it's different. You don't just roll.
When that happens, though, I'm like, how am I vibrating at this low level of somebody who's having such a terrible day? What's going on with me to where I'm even near someone who feels that way? Of course, except for the one I live with, but who's actually lifting his vibration. But that I always think, why would I be near something that feels that way right now? Like, why am I allowing that?
Because that's why you came here. You
Yeah.
came here not to go through this just yourself and hurry up and get through it and then leave.
Right.
You came here to let other people use you to some extent for
Yes.
their own purposes, but you still have your sovereignty to say that, okay, that's it. Now do it on your own.
Yeah.
I let you suck off energy off me for a little bit, but now you go do you go practice for yourself and don't be
Mm-hmm.
dependent on me.
Right. Like, or here's how you can summon your own in your own way or my way. Maybe it'll work for you. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Here's how to follow the breadcrumbs. Here's a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
Go looking for your crumbs.
Maybe that, but maybe not even that. It may say,
Maybe
hey,
not.
it may just be, hey, enough. You need to. I'm leaving. I'm going to do something. So you're on your own now, and just let them struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it isn't about doing everything for everyone who's.
No.
It's about doing enough to get them off their stagnation point or whatever when you feel the resonance to do so and you choose to do so. That's your sovereignty speaking. But there's also your sovereignty that says, okay, that's enough. Now you're starting to drag me down, or now you're starting to make it not resonate with me anymore.
Right.
So now you're on your own. It's not your job to baby them. It's
No.
they have, the more they can stand up for themselves, the faster they're going to develop their own sovereignty.
Exactly. And I a lot of the way I've had raising my children, slowly over the course of 20 years, like having such separation has helped me raising them with dealing with other people. They need to struggle. They need to fall down, and people, it doesn't do any good for anyone when someone needs to face their own stuff and you try to protect them to make your own self feel good. It's not, that's just, enabling. And I had to go through all of that just so that I wouldn't be, because if not, I would be a friend of mine's mom's breastfeeding the whole world. And I would be,
Exactly. Well, and that's the way our higher self works with us. It's not, our higher self isn't going to say, oh, here's everything you need. It's going to go think these weird things. Bing. And you're going to go, oh, wait, what was that? How does that work? And then you've got to uncover it, dig into it, figure it out, sit with it, see what resonates. I mean, it's up to us to work on that for ourselves once that weirdness catches our attention.
Yeah. It's we're all the star seeds are working on their sovereignty. But we're also working on becoming responsible sovereign beings. Yeah. And that means not doing everything for everyone else. It's not giving in to pressure or whatnot. It's tapping into the person asking for help and saying, yes, I'm willing to give you 5 units and no more, because any more than that, I'm being irresponsible to what's good for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever that 5
all about
units
discernment. Discernment, that big word, always.
Yeah. But the more you can have them do for themselves, the better for them. And as long as you don't have an attachment to them being dependent on you.
Right. Yeah.
That's
as
the
long
problem.
as they don't define you.
Yeah.
Then
I don't have an attachment to anything typically. That's like the whole being a Kriya yogi. That's basically all it's about, trying to have no attachment to any outcome of anything, just letting it be, because it all is exactly the way it's supposed to be. All of it.
That was a journey to get there, right? So,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a journey to get to the point where you're not attached.
No, it's been like climbing mountain after mountain to find out that the whole time it's like the Wizard of Oz. I could have figured it was always there all along, but I had to go through that crazy wonderful, horrible, whatever you want to call journey to get to the place of non-judgment. And it just is.
The good thing about this video game is there are infinite number of levels. So
yes.
how far along you think you are, there's always more levels to work.
Oh my God. Yes. It's like that IDGAF. I won't say the bad word. I always get to that place and I'm like, I really don't give a crap, about anything. And then I'm like, oh wow, I'm at an even deeper level of not giving a crap. I didn't even know it went that far down of not giving. And then I'm like, wow, even more I don't give a crap, in a good loving way though, about just judgment, just self-judgment, all of it. I don't care anymore. And then just when I think I can't care any less, there's even more I don't care in a loving way.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what we talked about. People say I love you. I mean,
yeah.
I don't dislike that term. It's just been overused, and people have used it when they didn't really mean love. So I tell her it's I don't care. When she says, hey, I want to do this, I tell her I don't care. Meaning I have no attachment.
Right.
I'm not going to prevent you. I'm not going to say go do it. I'm just going to say I'm not going to get in your way. I don't care. Because if I care, then I typically get in the way because I'm attached.
Yeah. And if you are, like, if you do something and I care, then it shows me an attachment I have, and then I go in there and sit with that and figure out what is the attachment. Yeah.
Yep.
So we're all working on that as we speak. No matter how far advanced I think I am, I realize, well, it depends on your perspective. Are you looking down?
Yeah.
Or are you looking up? Because if
Right.
I look up, I go, wow, I got a long way to go. I look down and go, wow, I've come a long way. How could both are true.
Yes.
Right. And then if we're judging the journey at all, it's like, why are we judging it at all? You know, so it's
Why do we care where we are?
yeah, exactly. Because we're exactly where we're supposed to be anyway. So who cares?
So the next one is kind of what we've talked a little bit about, synchronicity of now. We were talking the other day, and this kind of spurred this one. When it came up on my list, I was like, is that yeah, that's the same. All right. So I was talking to her about blowing bubbles. Everyone on this planet are bubble blowers. What we do is we blow a bubble of now. Most people blow a bubble of now and it pops right away. That means they stay in the now for just a second or two, and then they fall out. And then they blow another bubble and they fall out. They blow another bubble and fall. So it looks like they're just blowing these really small bubbles, just a stream of bubbles. Well, as you start to awaken, and this is part of the ascension process, you start to blow a little bit bigger bubble. And that's you staying in the now a little bit longer. And then it pops. And then you blow another bubble and it stays a little bit longer. And then you might blow some little small bubbles because you get sidetracked and distracted by other things. And then when you get back in the now and you're focused and you're paying attention to synchronicities, because that's when synchronicities occur, is when you're paying attention to your now, then the now starts to get bigger. Then at some point, you really start to really focus and on your bubble, and you start to blow it bigger and bigger and bigger. And once it gets to a certain size, other people, other beings will start paying attention, and they'll start connecting to your bubbles and start blowing into it. But you may not see it because you're so attached to your bubble that it looks like, oh, wow, look at how big I'm blowing my bubble. And then someone says, yeah, we've been helping you. No, you're not. This is my bubble. And you don't realize that there's nothing you can do separately by yourself other than work on yourself.
Yeah.
But if you make your ever-present now bigger and bigger and bigger, then other beings will be able to spot you. You'll start showing up on their radar screens and go, oh, come on, let's see if we can, this is how we're going to help each other. It may not be direct, hey, can I come over and help you? By you raising your now, your present now through your bubble, you're letting people know what kind of help. They can get a sense off you, and your higher self is then more aware, more present in your now, because you're creating basically a wormhole, a gate that
vortex
that you're trying to make bigger and bigger and bigger, so that things can pass through it, and you can start to pass. Sense of you can pass through it. Once it gets up to a certain size, you'll be able to travel outside of time. You'll be in and out of time whenever you want. Now that's down the road. It's more a matter of perspective if you do it. But if you notice, we talked about time speeding up and time slowing down. Well, time is bipolar. It's it's a loop, and it's like a planet. It's got a North Pole and a South Pole. On one side, time moves faster. On another side, time moves slower. When you sense time speeding up, you're on one side of that loop. When you sense time slowing down, you're on the other side. And it creates a loop, which is really a spiral. And that's what time is. Mm-hmm. So what we're doing is when you notice time speeding up, slowing down, speeding up, slowing down, you're time surfing. Mm-hmm. So when you start to see your synchronicities, like your 222 or 111, or it may just be symbols, it may be things showing up for you regularly that you're in the now, and you're like, oh wow, there it is again. Mm-hmm. Those are signs that your higher self sending to you that you're doing it. You're in that, you're in your now.
Mm-hmm. You know what's fun? What happened the other day? It was 3:34, and I was like, "Oh darn it! I missed 3:33." Driving down the road, as soon as I turned over, a license plate, the 333 was right there. Like 2 seconds, and I said it out loud. I was like, "Darn it! I missed the 333." I just like catching it, and it was like, "No, you didn't. Here you go."
Yeah, that's the thing. Is you don't miss anything.
Right.
You either get a message or you don't get a message.
Right.
So there's no missing anything.
Yeah,
but you're right. It's kind of like you caught time and you manipulated it. Mm-hmm. What you just did. Mm-hmm. Because you're like, oh, I want a message at 333. So
yep.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So your world is your world. We, though, have been programmed to be passive in this world and not active.
Yeah.
And now, as we become more and more aware, and as we tap into other aware folks, we start activating each other, we become more aware that we're able to manipulate certain things. We just have an idea and say, I wonder if, oh, look, that's you communicating with yourself about things that you can do, but yet your programming tells you, no, you can't. No, you can't do that. No, that's not allowed. Yeah. But we're fighting back and saying, oh, wow, wouldn't it be neat if, and you're like, bam, look at that, it happened. Mm-hmm. That's you fighting your programming just to make it happen.
Yeah, that happened for me the other day. I think I mentioned to you, I woke up before the alarm, and I thought, because I like to just lay there when I do that. And so I was laying there, and it was maybe 10, 15 minutes, and I thought, oh, I'm just going to lay here and enjoy this. And so I was just laying there and letting my mind wander and, meditation and see what's coming in. And I would lay there for quite some time. And then I opened my eyes, and the clock was 50 minutes before the first time that I looked. So let's say it was 7:50. When I looked at it again, it was 7 o'clock. And I was like, cool, I could have done it. But for initially you think, well, like you're saying, your programming says, oh, you must have looked at the clock wrong. Right. And I was like, no, I didn't. I knew what time it said because I had calculated in my head, and I thought, okay, well, I've got about 10 minutes. And but it went back to 7. So I was like, cool, I'm in it. I have more time.
Yeah, and there's no wrong or right about this. There's no, I got to be this fast or this slow about it. You're learning how to play with time. You're learning how to play with your awareness. You're learning how to play with others outside of the brainwashing while we're still somewhat in the brainwashing, because you're in the brainwashing until you're not. And once you're not, you're really not of this world anymore. You could still be in the world, but you're not of the world. We're moving in and out of this world as we awaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another example was yesterday. I wanted to call and talk to my mom, and I thought, well, it'd be nice if I could talk to my granddaughter and my son, but I had no idea because, one of them's probably working, the granddaughter's probably in a different place, but that went through my mind. Well, I called my mom, and she's like, oh, well, she's here, so I got to talk to my granddaughter. And then she's like, oh, here's your son. And I was like, oh, I get to talk to my son. So I manifested all 3 of them being in the spot, so that I could have a chat with them. And so otherwise I would say, oh, that was, in the past I would say, oh, that was just lucky. And I was like, no, I put that out there and wanted to chat with all of them, and there they were.
Yeah, there actually is no such thing as luck.
Right.
You make your luck.
Yes.
Yep.
You make it happen or you don't. That's all there is to it. What's in your bubble? what's happening outside your bubble is trying to interfere with what you're doing in your bubble. And that could be the mainstream media, it could be the government, it can be school, it can be work, it can whatever. Those are trying to interfere. How much they interfere is up to you. How much.
Well, and it's nice you call it a bubble, because it's like, if it is your aura, the idea is keep your aura so big that nothing can get through it, or you can't get to you. So the bigger the aura, the less can get to you.
Right, but you also get to say what gets to impact your bubble. So you can decide, you know what? I don't care about mainstream media. I'm not watching it. I'm not going to pay. When someone from one of my friends at work or school or whatever tries to tell me about it, I'm going to say, I don't want to hear it. Because as soon as you do, then you're in the decision, what kind of energy you're going to give them.
Yeah.
And I don't want to.
I like lack mentality of any kind. I will not allow it into my brain. I know that I'm going to be fine with my business, my energy business. And I have friends who are like, oh, but you've got to have a plan. I'm like, nope, nope, I do not. Don't want to hear it. Don't talk to me about it. I'm magical and I am fine. And nope.
That's what I say a lot now. It's not my world.
Yeah, and that's
yep, exactly. I'm like, no, don't you take your planning out of here, but no.
How the 3D kept us where we were for so long is not just from the brainwashing coming from the school system or the media or whatnot, but also peer pressure around us. People kind of say, well, you need to try this, or you need to be involved in this, or you need to wear these kind of clothes, or what. All of that is used to put you in context and make you stay there and keep your certain size and no bigger.
Yeah.
But now we're waking up, and now we're becoming sovereign beings. We're saying, I don't want to hear. No, I don't want to. I can feel your energy, and I don't have time for it.
Survey says.
That's your third strike. You're out of here. Yeah, it's you are a sovereign being. How sovereign is up to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you push people away from you that are trying to sabotage your energy? Or do you feel guilty when you do? That's you judging you.
Not anymore, but I've had a lot of instances where I've had to face that, to where the old me would have been uncomfortable, and I've had to navigate this no, I'm an actual intentional person, so you're not going to make me feel bad, and this is so no. But it used to be where I would allow myself to feel just timid and uncomfortable, and what do I do? So, but I've had a lot of recently things come up to where I've had to actually work through that kind of a thing. And I don't really feel bad anymore. My energy is the most important thing to me nowadays.
Exactly. That's sovereign being.
Yeah.
It's sovereign governance of your energy, of your energy will, and learning your options. At first, we're like, I don't want to be mean and whatever. And then after a while, you're like, I'm sick of doing that. And then you start saying, nope, I don't want to hear it. Okay, that's another option. But there are more options that we're going to become responsible sovereign beings by saying, come here. I know you've got some bad, dark energy that you want to impact me. I'm going to impact you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna push that negative energy at least out of our proximity and tell it to get out. And if you stay in here, it's just this kind of energy or resonance or higher. That's it. And then work on impacting a group of people and then impacting other things, because everything has an energy well to it. So we're working in this playground of becoming responsible sovereign beings with our energy.
I have a beautiful friend who told me a story this weekend, actually, about a friend of hers who they were talking about Ellen DeGeneres, and she was talking to the guy who's like, oh, I hate Ellen. And she's like, oh, why? And he, she's pushing that gay agenda. And she was like, no. And then she was like, well, you know what? Thank you for allowing me to enlighten you about the act, what as she is, who she is as a person. And she didn't get judgmental. She didn't get like, oh, I'm not going to talk to this guy. She actually took the time to enlighten him about the truth, and because he had just been spouting what he'd been told, and then she kind of changed his tune, or enlightened him or opened his mind up a little bit. And I just loved the way she handled it, because I don't know that I'd probably just be like, oh, okay, buddy, I probably wouldn't hang out with you again. But I just loved the way she handled that. I don't know, it made an impact on me, her just talking it out with him that way.
Right, because I think part of what you're alluding to there is, well, oftentimes we have judgments. All of us have judgments.
Right.
And so the idea is opening that space. It goes back to what Tim said about options. Opening that space to see what could all be true. It could be true that she's not good. It could be true that she is good. It could be true that I'm not good. It could be true that I'm good. You know what I mean? It's like moving around and kind of going, okay, all right, I can see both of those, or I can see all of them being true. So I'm not going to like draw a judgment on that. And it gives you that space to see multiple alternatives. I kind of think about the soccer we were just watching. So if you're running so fast into it, you can't see all the options to yourself. Sometimes it feels like you're up or you're pausing or something like that, so that you can see all the open lanes or all the different options that are associated. Yeah.
Well, newly aware sovereign beings have a tendency to do a whiplash. They've been living on this side of the spectrum, and then once they realize, and they come like, oh my gosh, they whiplash all the way to the other end instead of exploring everything in between. And it's not bad. It's just, you've got to almost do that before you start to realize you're doing it. You whiplash. Now you can take your time and explore that whole spectrum and figure out what resonates with you. So we all have done it. We all will do it. The thing about Ellen is a good example, but there are many things out there. All those beings involved in all that stuff, even the pedophilia and all that, they volunteered to play that role because no one else wanted to play that role. So at some point, we're going to have to forgive every single one of those beings before we come back to being one. And so it's kind of like, instead of condemning them and passing judgment on it, flip things around and say, how would I handle if I just woke up and found out I had been playing the role of the pedophilia?
Exactly.
And what would I be doing now? How would I be feeling at everyone passing judgment on me? How would you? Then you'll learn compassion for those people. Now, I'm not saying those people shouldn't get punished, because that's part of dealing with the trauma.
Right.
It's not my job to punish them, though. But it's not my job to forgive them either. Forgive them of their sins. They have to forgive themselves for their sins. But it's not my job to pass judgment on them. My job is to understand what they did and see how it impacts me. And if I go whiplashing over here, then I go, oh, okay, wait a minute. Okay, now I see I'm doing this. And then I can start to explore the spectrum about what they did and how it impacts me. Because I may say, well, yeah, they're bad people, and I'm more advanced than they are, and all this. But then look at your behavior. You're passing judgment. You're whiplashing. It's like you're maybe not as advanced as you think you are.
Like, I don't really judge. I see the importance of everything, serial killers, all of that. Like in the Ted Bundy documentary on Netflix, when he was about to go to the chair, there was a crowd of people cheering for him to be killed, and it was like, just the whole thing to me was just very interesting. All these people who were just so excited to, finally he was going to be gone, and they were just taking so much pleasure out of it. And it was just, I don't know, just all around very interesting human behavior,
But that goes back to think about what's in their mind to have them be happy about a soul being, you know what I mean? So it's like, and if you think about forgiveness, I had this discussion today with a friend about forgiveness. If we think about forgiveness, like at least I have in the past, of you've done something to me, I need to forgive you for it, or you've done something wrong and I need to be able to forgive you for it. I'm still judging you if I feel like I need to forgive you. It's like I'm putting some kind of guilt on that person. So it's kind of trying to, like you said, just pull back from it. That person has to forgive themselves, just like we forgive ourselves and reconcile and integrate and everything else. It's not so much what everybody else thinks about what we've chosen. It's more inside of us what we've chosen. All those beings are going to have massive reconciliation to do within themselves.
Yeah, they have that to themselves.
Yeah.
Yep.
To me, what forgiveness is, because we're talking about energy, what
Mhm.
forgiveness is I transmute what I found out about this guy that served as a pedophile. I transmute that knowledge to such an extent that that person and the things surrounding them no longer impact me.
Right.
Mhm.
They don't positively impact me. They don't negatively impact me. They're not pulling my energy. I'm not pushing energy.
Right.
So it's you've transmuted them back into you because they're no longer external. Because all these things we're talking about are external, but really they're internal. They're
Right.
only external to show you. They're a mirror to show you what you have to work on.
Yeah.
So transmuting it is saying, I take the sting out of you so that when I hear about it again, it doesn't have impact. It's like I already know about that, you know,
Right.
and nothing new is coming up when I hear about it again and again and again because I've transmuted it. I didn't I've already done my whiplash, and now I've explored back and I found my balance point on that topic. And then I move to the next one and I find my balance point to where I'm starting to balance anything and everything inside me, and anything that looks like it's external really is internal. I'm making it irrelevant.
Right.
And that's when war stops.
Yeah.
Because it's the war inside of ourselves around these things that keeps that energy, that fighting.
It's the fear
in place. So
it's all that fear.
Yeah. So once that gets in balance, the energy is no longer there for the war, battle and fight.
Yeah, because ultimately we were all one, right? We're not right now. We're separated. We
The
can't
illusion. We have the illusion of the separation, I believe. Yeah.
Right, but we're still playing that role in this 3D world. Our job is to transmute everyone in our lives to the point where we bring everyone inside us. Everyone is that pedophile, that murderer,
that saint,
that Mother Teresa. We incorporate it all. We pull it inside us. We transmute it, and eventually, you are all those things and none of those things. You bring it all into you and balance it. You can live with it, and it doesn't interfere with your living the next day and the next moment, and actually still able to blow the bigger moments of now and keep doing it until your bubbles are no longer popping. You're spending more time in the now than outside of the now.
Yeah.
I'm dancing in my bubble.
Yeah. The next one is waves of destruction versus surfing the waves. It's a matter of perspective. There are waves incoming constantly, bigger waves on the way. Some of them are going to cause massive destruction if you see it that way. Some of them are actually going to be, things that are destroyed need to be destroyed. They need to be decomposed and pulled apart for a reason, if that's what you see. But you can also say, hey, it's time to surf.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of perspective. Where are you in your balancing of all these things going on? And do you see things happening to you, or are you making things happen? Because the more external things you see happening going on around you and that are popping off and making you feel a certain way, the more passive you are, the more reactionary you are to those things going on, and that will appear as if things are happening to you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're working on yourself and contemplating, how would you feel if you were just found out you were a pedophile? How would you feel if you just found out that, you were a murderer or whatnot? And then incorporating all that in, you're now being active. You don't need to be active in the outer world. You need to be active in the inner world, because the outer world reflects what's going on inside you.
And
So-
your emotions will be your guideposts or your signals that there's a treasure there, or a signal that there's that aspect there to. So the destruction for me is that it can be physical destruction, or it can be destruction of your stillness. So if there's a disruption in your energy field, an emotion that comes to you, or something that happens on the outside of you, that's a place for you to start doing that inside work that you're talking about.
Well, there's always that, but to me, it's if you see something that you consider, oh, that's horrible. That's
You
that's
judged
you
it
just
for-
no. It's activated you.
Mhm,
That's an area for you to work on.
mhm,
So you're seeing destruction versus seeing opportunities for surfing.
Yeah.
So no one can judge your behavior and how you see things. Only you can.
Right.
We say one thing and we're doing another. It's marrying those two up by realizing that set me off.
mhm,
I'm not going to tell people it didn't set me off. I'm going to start working. That's something I need to work. But you don't work on it out there. You work on it in here. You
Right.
work on your impression of that and how it impacted you.
mhm.
And you find its balance point inside you. You transmute it so that is no longer destruction.
Mhm.
It is now a surfing opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And now those are all the things that are in your energy bubble. If they come in your energy bubble, they're yours.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter if you perceive that someone put it there.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're a messenger. It doesn't matter if it's in your energy bubble. If you perceived it, it's yours.
I have a thing. It's like if I prefer or don't prefer. You know, it's like I go if I prefer something, I think about it. If I don't prefer it, it'll go away, and I pivot always towards what I prefer, kind of thing. Now, but it took me a long time to figure that out. A really long time, because yeah. I don't even know where I was going with that. Sorry.
No,
but I use the word prefer or not prefer instead of judging it harshly ever, you know, or loving something or hating something. I'm like, I prefer that or I don't prefer that. That's how I try to train my mind to be.
Yeah, I understand prefer. I've done that. And to me, that's what I did when I was unsure of what was really going on, but I was woke enough to know that fireworks were going off. Now I kind of look around and see I'm looking for opportunities. I'm looking for opportunities of growth. And typically those are not going to be things I prefer.
Right.
They're going to be things that make me uncomfortable. So, but that doesn't mean that I just want all things that are uncomfortable.
Right.
Right.
I recharge my batteries by finding things that I prefer. And I want to tap into that because I want to keep raising my frequency. But I also want to learn. And I learn not by finding things that I prefer and like and enjoy and whatnot, though I do need that and I enjoy that. It's the things that set me off in some form or fashion that I need to explore. How I explore it, that's completely up to me. How much time I need to spend on it, whatever. But if I know about it, it's in my bubble, and I send it there for me to find it and to do something about it, to transmute.
Well, I have a family for all that.
Yeah,
I have a family for scratching at my surface. Because I can't choose to not prefer, you know, or I prefer to be alone, but I can't do that. But yeah, they definitely they bring forth the lessons for sure.
Yeah.
Every day.
We all do that to each other. That's
People, it's fun though. I mean, it's fun though. It's mind-boggling, but it's fun. You know, it can be painful, but it's fun. I find now that I love human emotion. I'm an emotional person. I used to hate being that way, but now I like that about myself. I like that sometimes I want to cry, you know, or I want to feel deeply. You know, I choose to. And I will seek out something that's going to cause me to feel that way too. But it's something that I want to happen for whatever reason in the moment. Because I will be like, why am I doing this? I'm like, well, I kind of like to be sad sometimes. It's, you know, I like to be human.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The next one is analysis of your mind. This is something that's always available to you. Why did I choose this? Why did I not choose that? Why did I do that? Why did I not do that? Why is this person around me? Why is that person no longer around me? All of those are based on decisions that you've made. Yes, the other person made their role known and what they wanted to do and whatnot, but you also picked your side of the equation. But ultimately, everything is available for your analysis. And you can start, I told her, I started picking holes in my mind's logic, and that included my ego.
Mm-hmm.
There are holes to find if you're willing to slow things down and really look at it.
Mm-hmm.
There you can find out who you really are. Like, what's going on? Because I realize I'm not my ego. My ego is not me, but my ego is part of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to transmute it. But in order to do that, I need to understand it because it's much closer to me. It's got my signature associated with it. So I can't just avoid it because it's constantly jabbering and doing its thing and whatnot. Now, I've found ways of preoccupying it and keeping it at bay at certain times, but other times when I'm depleted, it has more say. So I've got to learn to deal with it just like everyone else has to learn to deal with it. But
that's what Kriya yoga is, science of self-realization. You're like a Kriya yogi already. Both of you are.
Well, I mean, this is what we're sitting here to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
the science of self-realization, it's the best.
How can you
and the hardest.
How can you help people if you don't know who you are and how you can help people, and you're not being responsible enough to tap into other people to find out how they need to be helped and how they shouldn't be helped?
Right.
So in order to do that, I've got to figure out who I am. Well, part of who I am is this thing that's been attached to me, which is my mind and my ego and all these other elements that make up. It's kind of like I have my own counsel. Someone says, well, why did you put your ego on there? Because they're a big mouth and they're always getting you into trouble and everything. Yeah, but if I don't know what he's talking about, then I lose that from my counsel. It's kind of like if I'm on the council and people are saying, hey, you need to do this and you need to do that and everything.
Like
and
your board of directors.
Yeah, and your ego says, hey, yeah, you need to do what they're doing. I'm going to pause and go, wait a minute. If my ego wants me to do it,
let me second.
I need to really look at it. But I would rather have my ego on my side than not on my side.
Right.
So I can only do that by analyzing the hub of what pulls me together. And ego is part that attaches to that hub. Well, analyzing your mind is something that's available to you. It can better serve you if you understand it better. But the only way you can understand it better is to not be completely reactionary to how it serves you and start being proactive and say, I know I have this tendency. I don't always have to do that, but I know I have this tendency. I know I have this tendency. Most people say, they'll say this and they'll do this. And those are the people that are not analyzing themselves.
Yeah. And it's making a friend, like you said, with your ego. It's making a friend with your mind, because so many of us get frustrated with our minds and we try to drown it out by watching a show or doing something, or, rather than saying, it's like that inner child, when you call inner child, it's going to continue to get louder and be more mischievous if you don't turn to it and just go, okay, come on, what's going on in there? Let me understand what's happening in there. So when I think about the mind, it's kind of like analyzing your mind. It's kind of like getting to know your mind, which is can be childish at times.
Your job really, because we've all accepted it to come here, is to transmute everything within our energy bubble.
Yes.
That includes ourselves, the elements of ourselves. And if they're much...
I got so annoyed with myself when I really looked into myself. I was so annoyed at who I was. And then because that person that I used to be like, why don't they want to hang out with me? I'm like, I don't even want to hang out with me. What is going on in here? You know, it's, I thought I had done it. And then going into that grow up meditation class, I really came out, and I really had to look at every part of myself, and it was not pretty at all. It was uncomfortable, and it hurt me. And it like, I don't know. I didn't like it, you know, at the time. Now I'm glad I did it. But at the time I hated it. And I realized that I wasn't as healed as I thought I was for a really long time. You know, I was hiding a lot of myself deep down that I just didn't like. And then it all came out, and it was ugly.
Yeah. So that's something that's available to all of us anytime. It's something you never stop doing. You won't stop doing it until you've transmuted everything within this 3D energy bubble that's around you. So that's going on constantly. The next one is, can you handle an ET contact? Now think about this for a second.
Meditate.
I'm talking about, a lot of people say, yeah, I can, really, if you were sitting on your couch or in your bedroom or wherever, and all of a sudden, an ET being that looked nothing like you just materialized right in front of you, how would you handle it? Seriously, how would you really handle it?
I would love to say that I'd be great, but I think I'd freak out, you know, and then I'd be cool. But I think, because I feel like I thought I saw something at times, and I was like, and more startled than my rational mind would think I would be. So I think I'd probably flip out a little bit. How about you?
Well, we've been talking about this for quite a while, and to where we started branching out in different areas. It's if you're scared of bugs, you're not ready.
Yeah,
I'm not scared of bugs.
Snakes, you're not ready. I mean, the thing is, before you're ready to speak and deal face to face with an ET, you got to be able to deal with your own immediate environment, because those are things that are actually inside you. So we started talking to the bugs in our house. We stopped killing them, and we started talking to them. We started not being afraid of them, and not that they're taking over the house or whatever. So now we have bugs that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
And
spiders.
We've accepted them. I go to bed. I mean, we found spiders in our, just whatever. And I'm at the point now where if I'm going to get bit, okay, whatever. I mean, if that's what I placed in my energy field, and that's what I need to deal with, then that's what I'll deal with.
Wasps, birds, frogs.
We talked to all of them.
Yeah, and we've had this conversation a couple of years ago. It's like, how do we know that they're not an ET being? I mean, we assume that ETs are going to be the size of us or bigger.
Right.
I mean, we're making a huge assumption. What if it's not? What if they're, small? And then we're squishing them. I mean, they're never going to talk to us if it's we keep stomping on them. It's like, okay, Sam, go try it and see if she's ready.
Yeah, I know, really. No, I've already died 428 times when I tried to confront her. I'm not, you go. Yeah, so we realized that these things that were around us were helping us better understand where we really are with things. We could have easily said, I'm ready for ETs. Well, then why are you killing bugs?
Right.
Why are you afraid of that moth or, that frog? I mean, really?
Yeah. I mean,
well, and I used to work at a pest control company, so they were probably like, oh gosh. When I started my meditation practice, and the whole do no harm, because that was there's a yogi that talked about his grandmother who would every morning go out and feed an ant, feed the smallest thing on the planet first thing before she'd feed herself or anybody else. And so I stopped killing bugs, and I was meditating, and I came out of practice. There was this big spider crawling right across the front of my, right in front of me, and I just picked him up and let him go outside. But since then, I haven't really been killing bugs at all. And my 5-year-old loves to kill bugs in the house. I'm like, no, don't kill it. Let's get it out.
I'm still working on the when you first see it, how do you react? Because it's like when you're first walking through and you see spider, if you go like that,
right.
I don't want to have that reaction, so it's like, because that reaction is what is going to be an emitting of an energy. If a being is communicated, it's going to be like, I don't want to be like that, when it
like a startled fear, type of thing. Yeah,
but at least you at least realize that that's why it's there, so you could learn. But you put it in motion. You said, I need to learn this, so I'm going to work on my reaction to bugs or spiders or snakes or
you being in the hallway when I didn't expect you.
Yeah,
that was funny.
I thought you were like, honey, what are you doing up on the roof like Spider-Man?
I walked out of the bedroom and I didn't know he was coming through the hall, and I was like, oh!
I always do that with Chris. I always turn around, he's right there. I'm like, hey, he's like, why are you always scared of me? I'm like, you're just always right there and I don't hear you coming.
Same example. What would have been going to be?
Yeah.
Think about this, because I've had a lot of bugs and animals. I've even seen different types of bugs lately. One really weird ones. So, maybe that is them getting ready to contact us by having them all come closer to us now. Us getting more comfortable with those animal energies, but because it's coming time for us to be comfortable in bigger things.
Well, at a minimum, I don't want to be afraid of those things.
Right.
I want to get rid of those fear. I want to present a being that is approachable by anyone. It's like, I'm not going to pass judgment on you. Come in to my, to at least meet my energy, so my energy can intermingle with your energy, and I can figure out what that feels like and whether or not I want to let you in. But I'm not going to pass judgment on what I inherited, because what I inherited was through brainwashing. And so I'm unlocking that, unraveling it, and learning to deal with it. I thought, if I was an ET and I was up there looking down, I'm like, I'm not going to make first contact. You make first contact. I don't want to get shot.
Don't throw things at me.
No, he'll sick his dog on me. No. Yeah. So at a minimum, I want it, whether or not there are ETs out there or not, I want to make myself better. I want to be approachable. I don't want to just say no to people just because this is the way I've always thought of you before. So that's what I'm working on. It's coming in the form symbolically of dealing with bugs and spiders, catching the spiders instead of killing them and taking them outside, and approaching snakes like we did.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that brings up another thing of, how I knew you kind of thing. There was something came up this past week in my musings that was about, we have to meet each other anew each time because we are so rapidly changing.
Yes.
So even individual human beings, we can't have that assumption that we already know that person, because every time they interact with our energy field, they can be extremely different. But if we hold that old image of them in our field, that's what they're going to feel, or, you're going to see them as. So we have to get to the point where, and part of it is working through these types of things that helps us develop that muscle, so to speak, to do that for each other as well, because we are all changing. I mean, I could see the same person, at each day, and each day they're very different beings because they're evolving and growing and learning more about them. And not always forward. Sometimes you appear to go back, but it's all part of that journey. But you have to meet people with whatever being it is, with where they are right now, and have that openness to come into my energy field and let's see what it feels like.
Right, because if you hold someone to what you thought of them, like say when you were a child, then they're always going to present that.
Yes.
Because you're holding them to that. So
Right.
I agree with you. We need to open the door anew to everyone we know, even the people we see on a regular basis, because if we don't give them a chance, they're not going to change.
Right.
They're not going to change for you.
Exactly.
You could say, you could be talking to someone and say, yeah, that Jan girl, she just annoys me and everything, and she's always, blah, blah, blah. And then the other person says, well, I've noticed she's changed a lot lately, and she's really become very empathetic and whatever. Well, she is for her because she allowed her to change. She opened that avenue for her to change, but you haven't.
Right.
And that's the issue, holding them into that energy well to say, when you confront me, you have to play this role. You're not giving them a choice. So they're either play that role or they don't interact with you at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, but that's an item that's interesting to go back to over and over and over again, because I don't think any of us are absolutely 100% ready in all aspects.
No.
So it's constantly checking, and it's not what you think of yourself. It's look at your own behavior towards other things and take a context of that. And that will tell you what's really going on with you, not what you think is going on with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot, myself included, like a lot of people want better than they want to be, that they want better than they are going to be themselves. You know, they expect more out of everything else than they do out of their own self. And that's where I was like, wow, I'm the same way. I need to be the best me I can be. And then everything else will come to me that I want that way.
Well, if you're not being the best you, then you're not being you.
Right.
You're being you minus.
Yeah.
There's things that are missing because you think of you this way. These are all the things that make up you. If there's any aspect of you that's not that, then that's you minus. But we all are like that. We all think of ourselves a certain way. True, false, indifferent doesn't matter. But if all those things are actually not in place, we just think they are, then who are you? And the last one is, who are you really? Yeah. No, I mean, like, really, who are you? Not who do you think you are? Who are you? And the way to figure that out is, like the other one, analyze your mind, but analyze every aspect of you, and try and build these data points by looking at your behavior. And then from those data points, you get these trajectories, and those really are an aspect of you. They tell you more about you than the words that come out of your mouth. Because your words that come out of your mouth, they're from your ego, they're from overanalyzing things, underanalyzing things, doubt, suspicion, fear. But your behavior leaves tracks in the sand. And it shows you what trajectory you're on and what flavor it is.
Yeah, and going back a little bit to the last one too, is you can't leave it to somebody else to tell you who you are, because you are only to them what they're perceiving you to be. So it really is your own journey of constantly evolving into, because you're not going to be the same. You will know yourself a certain way, but every being that you interact with could see you as a different.
Right.
Isn't it? So because it's what they perceive. So if you're looking for anything outside of you to tell you who you really are, or other,
well, I mean, more talking like, if I expect my 10-year-old to be super clean in her room, but yet my room's like covered in piles of laundry, how am I expecting her to be better than how I'm behaving my own self? You know what I mean? How, to me, that's where it's like, okay, I should be the example and do the right thing, then show her how it's done, instead of, I expect you to keep your room clean, but I'm not going to do the same thing, you know? More like that. But
well, that shows you that you have this ideal, but yet you're living this.
Right.
You're not married up. And that's when other people around you, they have to figure you out.
Right.
When you say something, then they have to translate it, because translation is required, because we often don't say what we mean and mean what we say.
Mm-hmm.
We say one
Yeah.
thing, we do another. So a translation is required. What we're trying to do is marry it up so there is no translation required. That's when, to me, that's when telepathy is going to come online. You say what you mean and you mean what you say, and it's broadcast.
Oh, there you go.
Where did I leave off?
You say what you mean.
Say what you mean and mean what you say.
Is that
Yeah.
what the last thing you heard?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's when telepathy comes online, is when you say what you mean and mean what you say, and it's naturally broadcast from you as you're walking down the street.
Mm-hmm.
People will know you by what you broadcast. Right now, while we're talking and flapping our lips and whatnot, most people got to go, what's he mean by that, though?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're trying to kind of work our way through to become the best you. What is best? It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It's what
Right.
you think is best,
Exactly.
the best you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Once you become that, you marry up what you say and what you do, you marry that up, well, then you're now ready to communicate with someone else's mind, because there isn't this variance in what you say and what you do.
Yeah, because we're getting distortion all the way around right now when
Yeah.
we're like this, and then the other people interacting with us are perceiving us, they're getting a distorted view. At least if you are like this, you know that you're emitting a clear signal. And whatever they see, it could be their distortion depending on how clear their screen is and how much work they've put into it. But you can't control that piece. But in part, you can take care of your own distortion. Your own lens can be clean, so you're not projecting it.
And while you're saying this and living this, and I'll speak for myself because we're all doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We're biased.
Mm-hmm.
We're biased towards justifying why we're doing this.
Yeah.
So we constantly have an agenda to prove what we say is true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, that's what I'll be like, Charlotte, I'm telling you so you don't end up like me. Like a clutter
That's where the defending comes in, and
Yep.
that's also
Yeah.
that's that same
Yep.
energy.
because really that's what's going on. Because we see, war, famine, and murder, and suicides, and all this other stuff. What's really going on is, in your own energy bubble, you're having to translate and reconcile the difference between this and this.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going on. And sometimes it's going to appear as war. Sometimes it's going to appear as murder. It's not that you're doing that. That's what it appears in your outward looking screen.
Yeah. I listened to something the other day, and it said if you were at a movie theater and you were watching the projection, and there was something up there, like a smudge that was on the lens, we wouldn't go to the screen and try to clean it off of what we're watching. We would go to the projector and clean the screen. And that's kind of whatever we're seeing out there is projecting through whatever that is. And if we have any of those distortions, that's what we're going to see.
Right.
Yep.
So the real objective is to transmute all these things, get this dwindled down as we transmute those things to where they're one. Once they're one, then there's nothing out here that's actually impacting me. Everything is actually going on inside. I've actually accepted that and working only inside me, not externally. I'm not using external unless I want to, unless I choose to do that. And then, to me, you've outgrown 3D.
That's your 0 point.
Yeah, that's your 0 point. That's when you're ready to vacate. You've learned everything you need to learn in this 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Is once you find that balance point, you've transmuted all that you need to and learned all that you need to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's and it doesn't have to be work. The programming and the brainwashing led us to think that all of this had to be work. You had to work everyone's got to work, and it's got to be tough, and Everyone says,
Right.
so much work and I work so
No
hard.
pain, no gain.
Yeah, it's all that. It's getting outside that brainwashing and realizing this doesn't have to be work.
No.
It can,
I don't have to work a lot. I'm very lucky. I manifested a life of not having to worry about it. And even my daughter, my oldest daughter came today and she helped me organize the kids' toys. And she's like, thank you for letting me come get my organization on. I'm like, you're welcome, because I hate it. And, so I'm like, I have this kid now who's excited to help do something for me that I hate doing for myself. And it gets done and I don't have to do it. And I'm like, did I manifest that? You know what I mean? Like, because I have been trying to have the things that I don't want to do get done without me having to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's now happening that way.
Well, it made me think of the no pain, no gain when it comes to working out and stuff like that. I mean,
That's
everything. Like you have to, put effort and it has to hurt and you have to, get tired of it. Or get tired from doing it in order for you to have deserved it,
right.
Old programming. And, as we clear those distortions and we get clear on that, things come to us. It's not, like you said, it's not all work. It can be play. It can be an adventure. It can be a lot of different things, whatever we want it to be. It can be work if you want it to be work. I don't want it to be work anymore.
No, I don't either. And it's just, things are easier once you realize it doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah, we just have to realize, though, that we still have all these brainwashings that are on us.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, no pain, no gain.
Yeah.
How many times have you said that? Or
Yeah.
Another saying.
Yes.
All of those have to be scrutinized. And it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's you need to look at it without your brainwashing turned on, with your awareness turned on high, and evaluate it and say, is that mine, or was that pushed on me?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's yours, you got to do something. It's in your energy bubble. Transmute it. It either becomes part of you. Well, it has to become part of you in order for you to move beyond it.
Mm-hmm.
How that impacts your walk along your path afterwards is between you and it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because no one can tell you. It may, no pain, no gain may work for someone, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Right.
So it's making these things your own so that it adds to your path, not takes away from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree.
So
That's good.
that's all I
Good
got.
stuff.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
This is fun.
It is really fun.
All right. Anything else before we close out? So,
No, I think that's good.
fun play date. So
Mm-hmm.
We are.
hold on just a moment.
Okay.